my review on Batman Begins in this from 2005, and I don't hate this movie, but I don't think it's that great of a movie, even though I do really enjoy it. A lot of the main things I enjoy about it. I can't help but feel like this kind of misunderstands Batman in terms of the writing, because he overcomes his trauma, supposedly, and accepts that nothing was his fault from what happened to his parents. And that's a big problem, because the whole reason why Batman became Batman in the first place is to basically deal with his trauma better, and at least in the majority of his runs of Bat in the comics and even the cartoons. So this is one of the reasons why one reason why I think Christian Bale is the worst Batman next to George Clooney. Well, George Clooney's a worse or active version of Batman, worse acting wise, he's a worse version, but I feel like writing wise, it goes to Christian Bale being a worse written Batman. Because it's too happy, you know, and the whole thing with the Scarecrow and the Ra's al Ghul's a little conflict with the plot and everything, and the racing is very convoluted and mushed together, and the plot is very convoluted a lot of the times. And while Batman is supposed to have a forward narrative in the story, he doesn't feel like he does, I feel. Even though he has more screen time as has since any other Batman movies in live action. Has more screen time than any other Batmans has ever had in movies in live action. And it just feels very wasted. So yeah. And I'm going to review The Dark Knight also in this video. And that's why I give Batman Begins a 5 out of 10. Now I'm going to talk about The Dark Knight, which I straight up hate. Because not only it kind of retcons everything for the first one, at least the stuff involving Batman's character, how he's written. No, I don't mind the retconning, except that I kind of do, because it's basically telling me, well, the retconning isn't bad retconning. It's decent retconning, but the problem with retconning, once you do retcon stuff, you're basically telling me everything you read before that was a fan of, or not a fan of, or somewhere in between, is you're basically telling me everything that you showed me before, that you made before, the previous one, so it basically doesn't fucking matter. So I just wasted a piece of my 2 hours of my life, at least, just to you retcon everything, and there's no forward narrative anymore at this point, you know. So and Batman doesn't really have, at this point, Batman's just like this generic action hero that's pretty standard, and he just dresses up in Batman. He doesn't really do anything, and his Batman voice has gone noticeably worse. It was kind of cool in the first one. I thought it was Batman Begins. I didn't mind it, Batman Begins, but it got noticeably worse. Yeah, trying not to cringe is kind of difficult when you hear his voice. It's like you're wondering why he's talking like that, why he can't use the voice he used in Batman Begins instead of this one. And the Joker doesn't really do anything hardcore scary like you want him to do, Probably because this Joker has barely any screen time. He's off of the film majority of the time. And also this has a PG-13 rating, so he has to deal with like PG-13 violence instead of horror actions, really hardcore violence and stuff. And that really pisses me off because I was hoping that this one was going to be a more violent and serious Joker than the one we got from the Jack Nicholson or Cesar Romero 60s era of the Joker live action. Is that that's how what was advertising in the show, and I felt like I didn't get that, so I'm a little pissed. And I couldn't stand Heath Ledger's voice or his laugh. I actually couldn't stand his laugh because I didn't want his voice. I just couldn't stand his laugh. I will say his laugh is a little more worse than Christian Bale's Batman voice, and his voice is worse than Christian Bale's voice in terms of laughable, because his voice sounds like he's getting probed, and his his laugh doesn't sound like his own laugh. It just sounds like he's imitating other Jokers, the great Jokers before him, and that's why people love him, I guess. But I always found that hard to like him because of that. So I don't know what's wrong with people. And looking at Two-Face, and he's just yeah, I gotta admit, he's kind of whiny and consistently written when he becomes Two-Face Harvey, from Harvey to Two-Face. And he doesn't call himself Two-Face except for one time, but when he is called Two-Face, he's called Harvey Two-Face instead of Two-Face. And yeah, so basically, it's not really much of a transformation or development once he gets to Two-Face. And I feel like once, he got burned, it was on the hospital, the movie should have ended there. And split the other. I feel like this movie goes on too long. I feel like the show split the, if I remember correctly, the halfway point comes once Harvey gets burnt, in the face and he ends up in the hospital. I think the movie should have ended there. It looks like it was going to wrap up, but then it goes on longer than it should have. And I feel like that's where they should have ended this one. And maybe, take off where this one ended, or tell a different story while giving closure for this one. So that's why I give Dark Knight a 0 out of 10. And Dark Knight is based off of, which is strange, but Dark Knight is based off the loose adaptation of the Long Halloween comic, to Batman The Long Halloween. And so is Batman Begins, the loose adaptation of the Frank Miller comic called Batman Year One, where it's an origin story set. But I feel like the adaptation for Batman Begins worked a lot better, and this worked better, and I felt like it did, the adaptation for Long Halloween, Dark Knight didn't even try to adaptation the main premise, whereas a detective noir story. And Batman's constantly failing in with trial and error, and Two-Face is also known as Harvey Dent, is more of the main focus in that story, and goes nuts after a while, and realizes he's always been nuts for that story since you met him. Batman Year One was more of a realistic ground take of the origin story of Batman. And I feel like the Batman Begins, why I called out loose adaptation, because it was more focused on theatrical than telling more of a grounded story in terms of world building and logic of how Batman operates and thinks. So that's why I say Batman Begins gets a 5 out of 10, and The Dark Knight gets a 0 out of 10. Now let's talk about the last one, The Dark Knight Rises, which is based off of the second Frank... No, wait, which came first? Batman Year One or the Batman The Dark Knight Returns comic? Anyway, this is based off the Batman Dark Knight Returns comic series run. And that was a limited time series that got turned into a graphic novel. And this is where I feel like The Dark Knight Rises is a very loose adaptation of that, because it really misses the point. That the Batman is very weary, and his body's breaking down, and the comic, now the comic, I noticed the comics basically based Batman rediscovering himself of him being Batman, and it also shows his body breaking down, and it's not as strong as I think he used to be. so he has to like fight more quicker and in the shadows more often. And I feel like The Dark Knight Rises, the movie, heavily glances over that stuff. Or it just got really edited out of the final project. Instead of Batman fighting the mutant leader, he have him fight Bane. And then he find out Bane's connected to the, this Ra's al Ghul, which is in the known verse called Ra's al Ghul. Then everyone got confused for many generations today of how was his real comic name called accurately. And so then a bunch of confusing shit happens. You find out Bane's not the leader, he's not the brains, he's just the bronze of the cult that the League of Assassins. And he's not the head of the League of Assassins, it's Talia, so she's the child of Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul, but it's called Ra's al Ghul in the movie. And then Batman rediscovers himself by thinking it's taking inspiration from the story and do without the rope called Out of the Cave. And it's just confusing once he gets Bane, the drop of Bane, and then finds out that Talia is the League of Assassin, head League of Assassin member, and controlling everything. Bane's just a henchman. Which is sad because Tom Hardy's a really good Bane. Sure, he might be fat and chubby, and poorly out of shape, and have worse a body than mine. Or my dad's. But, he does a good performance, and I don't know why he had to gain fat instead of muscle for this role. I just don't know why. And I thought it was me guessing that, and, because, that's he's in such good shape, and such big shape, he still looked kind of fat to me, but then I found out in an interview, holy crap, it wasn't just in my head, everyone's wrong except me. So, which is strange because Bane's supposed to be this big and really ripped cut guy in the comics, and he's not supposed to be fat at all. So making the Bane in the Batman and Robin movie a more faithful adaptation than Tom Hardy's Bane in the long term it did. Because, Bane's not a bronze, is just all bronze but no brains, really. In both adaptations of Bane's, from Batman Robin to The Dark Knight Rises. So, I think I like that Bane more in the Batman Robin movie, more afraid of that Bane than Tom Hardy's Bane, because, that Bane's not fat. Like Tom Hardy is, and that's the one advantage he has. And it's sad, because Tom Hardy's a really great actor, so I just feel bad for him. The project, thinking about it years later, just made me whole thing made me sad. So, yeah, I'm giving The Dark Knight Rises a 5 out of 10. And I gotta admit, I really think that Christian Bale is the worst Batman out of next to George Clooney. And I think I hate him more than George Clooney's Batman, actually, of all time Batmans. No, that's actually, I think, yeah, Christian Bale's the worst Batman next to Michael Keaton. And so it goes, the worst Batman of all time would have to be Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, and George Clooney, number 3. Last but not least. For the worst Batman of all time, I have to say, So, yeah. Bye. Oh, and please subscribe to my channel, like this video.